And remember, emotional intelligence is not just something that is only meant for your career and it is only has to be when you're looking for a job. It actually helps you in every part of your life, whether it's your relationship, whether how you bond with your team management skills. Everything is a part of emotional intelligence. In fact, it is true when someone says that as you grow higher up in life, as you climb up the ladder, what you realize is that your skill, the skill that you have, your core competency, you don't need it so much. But what you really require is how well you understand and manage people. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, friends and students. Welcome to another edition of Connect and Converse on this lovely, lovely Friday afternoon. My name is Satyam Sengupta, and I'm going to be your host for today's Connect and Converse webinar. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you who joined us and been here before, thank you for being here. I have just one question for you. I want to ask you, how are you feeling? How is everyone feeling? Because our session today is all about emotions and feelings and what we feel and emotional IQ. In fact, it is called EI or emotional quotient. So that's what the session is all about. And I hope that during this session, we'll be able to give you some value and you'll be able to take away some value from this session. But before we do that, let's kind of talk about who we are, why we do this, and what is it that you can expect from today's session. So let's quickly talk about us. So we are basically hoteliers. We've been career hoteliers all our life. We've been working with some of the finest brands in India as well as abroad. And InCode Business Services is kind of born out of that. And InCode Business Services brings to you today the Connect and Converse webinars. It is basically a webinar in which we reach back to you, learn from you, and of course, get in touch with what we call our tribe. It's a series of webinars. We said it's on knowledge sharing. It's a platform to connect and converse with you so that we are able to hear what you want and we can tell you our experiences of being hoteliers. It's also talks about things like hotel, hospitality, customer service, etc., etc. These are some of the things that we have our sessions and webinars on. Besides that, we talk about trending topics like fads, hacks, tips, life skills, etc., etc. And all this, as I said, is brought to you by InCode Business Services, which is something that we're going to talk about just in a bit. So what is InCode Business Services? Well, InCode Business Services is a hotel management and a boutique consultancy company. It's also a training company, which is basically formed by career hoteliers. And it is in the space of providing consultancy and advisory services. Some of the services that InCode Business Services as a company offers are services like franchising, services like audits, financial, mystery, customer, etc., etc. Services like asset management. So all these are the services that we offer. And if you want to know more about our services, please do visit our website, www.incodebusiness.com. And of course, there's a full list of things that we do. And you will also notice that we have some great learning programs because our services is not just for hotel owners and operators, the learning service programs. And I hope you caught it. We'll also talk about a ready to hire program, which is a marquee program. You can visit our website. We have regular batches. It's a kind of finishing school program where we train you on personality grooming, and it helps you to make the transition from a student into your corporate life or your career. You can visit us at incodebusiness.com. We also are present in social media. Do like, comment, and share. We have with us the entire panel from the InCode Business Services. We have Mr. Virendra Razdan, who is the founder and the CEO. We also have with us Sanjay Sood, who is the co-founder as well of the InCode Business Services. We have Mr. Hendrian, who is also a managing partner. We have Kiran Wari, who takes care of business excellence. And yours truly, I am Satyam Sengupta. I am going to be your host for today. So let's get on with the topic at hand. But before that, just a quick note before we get the ball rolling is that certain things that if you want, you should do to make this session being a very focused session. So number one is that please remember to keep your microphones on mute. There are some ambient noises. We don't want disturbances. You want to speak to us, you certainly can. You use the chat option. We also have a question answer session at the end of just before the end of this session. So you can use that to ask some doubts or clarifications that you have. Also, if you find something useful, please do note it down. In these sessions, we share tips and hacks, something that has worked with us. So definitely do note them down. You can also reach out to us. We are also there on Gmail. You can write to us at this email that is on the screen, connectandconverse@gmail.com. It would be great to hear from you, what you want to say. And of course, we would love to hear from you, because you could bring some of the topics that you would want. Remember, the Connect and Converse webinars is all about the webinars that you want to hear, and we'd like to bring that to you. So with that being said, and again, apologizing for the little bit of erratic connectivity that I'm having today, let's get on with the session. And this session, I promise you, it's not just about a global GYAN. We just talk about emotional intelligence and what is emotional intelligence. I'm sure you can find that on videos and read books about it, or maybe in the YouTube. But this is basically some of the things that today's HR managers or today's recruitment managers or today's bosses kind of hold in very high regard, because this is what they really see when you're looking to probably move ahead into another job or into a career. And remember, emotional intelligence is not just something that is only meant for your career, and it is only has to be when you're looking for a job. It actually helps you in every part of your life, whether it's your relationship, whether how you bond with your team management skills. Everything is a part of emotional intelligence. In fact, it is true when someone says that as you grow higher up in life, as you climb up the ladder, what you realize is that your skill, the skill that you have, your core competency, you don't need it so much. But what you really require is how well you understand and manage people. It's all about management, right? And therefore, what emotional intelligence talks about, it talks about linking your heart with your mind so that you're a winner. And today we'll talk about emotional intelligence, which is the soft skills that actually gets you hired, and not just gets you hired, actually gets you places. So before we do that, have a look at this picture. And before I say that, just take a minute to think of something. Do you know people who are probably in your friend circle or somewhere here and there, or maybe somebody in your family, or maybe your BFF, who's got this wonderful sense of how to deal with people? They remember birthdays, they know when to call up at the right time. They're always there if you want to bounce something off them. They kind of are your 3 a.m. friends, right? So what is it about these people? Actually, the secret is that it's not that you have to be very learned or you have to be very mature to do this. All you need to have a good grip of what we really call is emotional intelligence. And therefore, you see how important this is for a leader to have. A leader having these personality traits and skill would be obviously a great leader. This picture, for example, where you see a lady, and quickly, if you could also answer in the chat, it would be great. What do you think she is? Can you read her? I mean, for example, do you think this is a look of embarrassment? Do you think she's feeling sad? Is it fear that you see on her face? Or is it surprise? If you think it's embarrassment, type 1. If you think it's sadness, then type 2. If you think it's fear, then type 3. Or surprise, then type 4. What you notice is, yes, of course, right, correct. What you notice is basically that this is a typical picture that you will see that when someone is afraid. Now, you may not be able to read it, and sometimes it's some people are clearly able to read it. Now, there's a subtle difference, because not always people are so expressive and so reactive, but they feel a very strong surge of emotions in between. And sometimes when we do not understand this, we tend to disregard a major part of a feeling or emotion that the other person is going through. And if this other person is contributing in some kind of partnership, or you're in a team together, it might lead to some kind of friction, isn't it? Now, babies are the most emotive. They really emote. They cry and they have all the emotions in their face, because that's the only language that they know. Now, as we grow up, as we become adults, we tend to suppress our emotions. But don't get this idea in your head that your emotions decreases. In fact, your emotions increases or remain the same. The only way that we show the emotions become less. So it becomes a kind of necessity for the other person who is interacting with us to kind of judge and understand what kind of emotions that we are feeling, and thereby, take the appropriate action. And if someone can do that, obviously you will feel close to it. You know why else emotional intelligence is important? In fact, anyway, before I go to that, let me just say that here you see the picture that you see here. If you want to do a similar kind of quiz, or if you want to go to the website, this website has a lot of small games and activities about emotional intelligence. Either click on the site, which is berkeley.edu, or you can scan this code. But here's a quote about emotional intelligence, and kind of shows the impact of emotional intelligence and kind of your work life. Okay. So I'll read this. 75% of careers are derailed for reasons related to emotional competencies, including inability to handle interpersonal problems, unsatisfactory team relationships, and during times of difficulty or conflict, or inability to adapt to change and elicit trust. That means every time that someone's career goes down the hill or if everything is not perfect, it is not because of maybe an economic meltdown or some decisions taken wrong, or maybe some new kind of technology or something coming in which made another company obsolete. Sometimes people actually go down the downward spiral in their job and in their life because they're not really emotionally attuned to themselves as well as their fellow people. So if we talk about this, I'd better show you who's the person who said this. And the person who said this is none other than Daniel Goleman. And Daniel Goleman is that person who basically related a lot with emotional intelligence and emotional quotient when he talks about. Now, he's not the first one who talked about emotional intelligence. He's not the first one who talked about EQ, but he certainly is the most popular person who's been talking about EQ. So he was born in 1946 in March, and he is a psychologist, a behavioral scientist, an author, but he wears many hats. He's a mentor, he's a professor, he's a coach, he talks to industry leaders, he's a propagator of emotional excellence, and of course he's a TED Talk speaker. All this began in 1995 when he wrote his book Emotional Intelligence, and he kind of pointed out to hiring managers, not just hiring managers, to basically the world in general, how emotional intelligent, what it is, and how emotionally intelligent people do better. And this is what we're going to talk about today in our session, how you can have these traits, develop these traits, cultivate these traits, and how you can introduce traits to kind of, impress somebody in the interviews, right? And here's a fun fact. Daniel Goleman spent a lot of years in India. He was under a guru. He did vipassana, he did meditation. So there may be a link of the Eastern philosophy and thought of knowing your karma/dharma, and that should be basically your behavior to people. Who knows? There might be a connection there. But Daniel Goleman essentially says that if we can understand our emotions, if we can get a grip on our emotions, if we get a handle on our emotions, we are able to then identify why we are reacting a certain way. He called them triggers. And then he said, once we understand why we react in a certain way, it is obvious that we will also understand how other people react in certain ways. And therefore, our relationship, our behaviors with other people will be much better. This basically forms the crux of the emotional intelligence. Now, there are many other intelligence quotient also. We will quickly go through them. A leader is supposed to have intelligence quotient, technological quotient or technical quotient. He's supposed to have adversity quotient and spiritual quotient. All these quotients are basically things that can be measured. To understand what they are, intelligence quotient is simple. It says how quickly you're able to do something, understand something, grasp something. It's about logical and deduction and analysis. Technical quotient is a little newfangled term. It's a term that's come up in the late 2000s. It is how you react with technology around you and how you use technology to make your life and your work easier. Some of us have a lot of equipments or machines which are already technology enabled. Not just our phones, which is the internet, but nowadays TVs, cars, washing machines, cameras, everything has internet. The entire concept of it is called Internet of Things. And how do you use these things to make your life and your work more efficient and productive is all a component of technical quotient, right? Technical quotient is all about how you harness technology and become more technological savvy. You don't have to go into the hardware, but how you use this. A good leader should be able to make decisions, see into the future, and know what technology to harness so he or she can take the right decision at the right time. Adversity or motivational quotient again is very simple, because adversity or motivational quotient is all about how you stand up when there is a reaction or a challenge in front of you, the fight or the flight mode. And a good leader knows when to fight and knows which battles not to step into. That is also a quotient. And of course, who can forget, this is a direct kind of link from the Eastern philosophy of thought, the spiritual quotient, which basically asks you, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose on earth? So these are some of the quotient which a leader should have and develop and cultivate. There are other quotients also. There is people, experience, and learning quotient also that we talk about. But these, the entire gamut of quotients, are the questions that is expected somebody to have. But what we're really going to talk about today is the emotional quotient. And remember, this is what HR manager says, and this is basically based out of a survey that emotional people with emotional quotient have a 71% higher chance to get hired, right? That's about nearly 3/4. Every third guy out of 4 guys is a person who's more emotionally intelligent. And even in terms of promotion, it's about 75% of the people who are more emotionally tuned to themselves, who have a high EQ. These are the people that will go forward. Remember, when you're basically working, you're on a level playing ground. You are there with a lot of people who have the same competencies, same skills, probably the same degrees, probably from the same school, and probably with the same life experiences and work experiences. What takes you forward are these small things. So the question is, what is emotional quotient and how do I show it during an interview, or maybe when I am, in somewhere new or in a new group? Well, it's not so easy and so quick to answer this. We have an entire program that we do, which is called Ready to Hire, in which it's basically meant for people who are kind of transitioning into their corporate life. And over these 20 hours or 3 weeks, depending on the mode of the program, we train people. We tell them how they can be more emotionally aware of themselves. It's not just that; there's also other rigorous training on things like GD and etc. So do look up, let us know that if you would like to be a part of the batch, because this is something that we offer. Currently, we're doing it on a distinct mode, on an online mode. So let us know. But coming back to what we were talking about, the 5 elements of emotional intelligence. There are 5 elements. These are the elements that basically make up emotional intelligence, and these are some of the things that you can able to display or you can show during an interview. Number 1 is self-awareness. Self-awareness is how aware you're about yourself. An interviewer would ask is, tell me about a time when you achieved a goal. It's a very common FAQ, right? And sometimes you need to answer the question by thinking about it. So remember, an awkward silence when you're actually thinking about something is not always bad. It tells the interviewer that you're thinking about something, you're reflecting, you're feeling something, and then you're trying to translate what you're feeling into words, right? How do you do this? Very simple. I think besides just making a great CV, know about yourself. Who are you? What kind of things you like? What is something of your passion? What did you learn? And kind of write these down and maybe prepare this and try to bung them into your CV or maybe your introduction, which helps. It always helps getting somebody's opinion for it. If you have somebody who can give you that, okay, this is the way you present yourself, that would be great. Remember, your CV is a great tool, but a CV is just that. It's just a tool. What they really want to see at an interview is not just your CV and numbers, but the person. The next, they also check about self-regulation. You will hear people say in interview things like, so what are some of the action plans? What do you want to be? What are your dreams, goals? Questions like that. What is your mission? They want to see, have you or are you able to plan who you are? Are you self-aware? Have you self-aware and can you regulate yourself? Some people don't do this very well and kind of have very strange answers when they ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Okay, so I guess these are some of the common questions which basically people judge. You will notice in an interview there's always this one person or maybe 2 persons who sits quietly in the panel and does not ask a question. You know who these people are? These are emotional intelligent experts. They're watching you, they're listening to you. They're kind of thinking, is this the person who is the right fit for the candidate? Trust me, along with your group discussion and all the other interviews and even the written test that you have, your final interview will have elements of the EQ. And that is becoming more and more prominent. There are companies like McKinsey who have really a great EQ questionnaire that they give to people, which they want them to fill, and it's like something that you can kind of get marked on. The third thing they talk about is your motivation. What are the things that motivates you? Right? Question they would ask you: why should we hire you? Why you? Why not anyone else? Why are you ready to work here? Would you like to work at some A, B, C location? Okay. Right? What are your goals? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? Who are your top role models? A top role models often kind of tells you a lot of thing about the person, right? A lot of people I've heard say that, they say that, oh, I'm a strategist. I like people who take action and things like that. And they mention sometimes as their top role model, someone like Hitler, right? While of course it makes sense because there are some activities definitely about the Nazi dictator that one appreciates. But it doesn't really show the balance of what you're thinking when you say something. So keep in mind all these kind of things because you do make an impact. And definitely keep away from anything controversial. If you have a strong view on some kind of politics or religion or anything else about lifestyle, it's better to keep that to yourself, at least during the interview. You never know, the interviewer or someone, the panel member may just have an opposing view to that. Empathy, if you're joining the service industry, you not only should know this term, you should go this term. What do I mean by go this term? You should walk down the road of empathy. Empathy is feeling and knowing how the other person feels. And it really takes a person of a kind of high empathy to be in the service industry, right? And empathy is not something you can say, on a scale of empathy, I am on 9, or you write on your CV, passionate, empathetic, and all that, those kind of things. Those kind of things don't cut it. It kind of comes out by how you treat people, how you speak, the way your body language. All these kind of things show that whether you are an empathetic person, whether you're capable of understanding everyone's feeling or you're not. Another tool that they give that to understand empathy is giving you a case study wherein you have to take the role of a senior leader and take a decision, or a team leader and take a decision on a person, right? They see the way you analyze this and take a decision also talks about empathy. And finally, your social skills, they are seen on how you basically react with others, right from the group discussion to your interview. A lot of your social skills are being measured. Remember, everyone who comes in contact with you during the interview process is important. Simply saying that I'm very passionate, I want to work here, I'll be very hardworking, and I'm a very people person, and saying all these things during the interview, and then before and after the interview not properly responding or corresponding or reacting to people who are down the line who help in the interview process, gives a bad picture, right? It kind of says that whatever you say, you just lip service and you don't really mean it. So you see, the problems, the issues of emotional intelligence. It's not that you can really create a CV and something. You need to work on this. You need to build this, and you need to kind of be self-aware. That leads you to be a better EQ person, which will clearly be seen. So if we want to move on quickly, if you want to see some tips about what you need to do for an interview, remember, number one, create a CV that is balanced. A balanced CV is a great CV. Your CV is not just a brick and mortar structure of your achievements, your aggregate marks, what you got in some numbers and some exams and so on and so forth. Your CV is more than that, right? Your CV should portray you as a person. Remember, a CV goes through many layers. One of them is the automatic tracking system, and after that it reaches the hand of a recruitment manager. And the recruitment manager already has very similar CVs with very similar kind of marks and figures. So he really is interested in knowing the person. Secondly is dressing for the occasion. That is very important. Remember, you want to draw attention to yourself, not your dressing. So you have a favorite dress, a favorite attire, a favorite accessory. You think you will probably is not the best thing for the interview. Leave it, let it be. You can always showcase that later. Be empathetic. Listening is very important. Understanding, making eye contact, nodding your head, saying all these things that I understand you. What did you say again? May I repeat your question? These are all cues, clues, and things that you tell that you're listening to somebody. Do not be over impatient to react and answer something. Take your time. The 3-second rule works best. Nod your head for 3 seconds and start the answer after 3 seconds. That's a good tip some people use for the interview. It gives time for the interviewer to understand that you're taking in the question, and it gives you time to frame your response. Next, be aware of your triggers. Very important, folks. Is there things that make you angry? Is there things that make you a little sad or things like that? So be aware of these triggers, because these triggers will probably also be, come out in the open in the interview unless you're not careful. So if you have some trigger that makes you nervous or makes you, throws you off your track, work on them. Because sometimes I've seen interviews going down a hill because of certain pressure tactics, and believe me, there will be pressure tactics that people do, like a shrug of the shoulder, or you're answering and no. Do not get thrown out. But go down what you believe, go down the path of what you believe is the right answer and what you say, and have a great interview, right? So do not get thrown, because that would probably be an exposition of your trigger. Next, this is very important. Look at the company profile and the job description. Don't just walk into blind because you've been applying for an interview. When you get the interview call, spend the next few hours or days, whatever you have in your time in your hand, to prepare for the interview. What the company does, what's the culture of the company, who are the people who work there, what is your job description that you're applying for, etc., etc. Communicate sincerely in every format. Sorry, it's not form, it's format, whether it's written, whether it's spoken, in an email or even a WhatsApp. Communicate sincerely, clearly, and promptly. Prepare some classic FAQs. I could speak more of this, but really classic FAQs are a part of our Ready to Hire program also. When we do this program for school leaving kids who are going into the corporate world, these are some of the FAQs we prepare people for. So definitely you should prepare for some FAQs also. You should, because there are some frequently asked questions, and one of the questions you will always be asked is, tell me about yourself, introduce yourself. You should have a cracker of a statement or a introduction for yourself, which is precise, concise, and actually tells the people who you are and actually tells exactly what you want them to. Be observant of non-verbal communication that can come from your interviewer. If he wants you to repeat something, if he's not understanding something, or if he wants to speak, give him the chance. It's always helpful to take turns. So non-verbal communication and listening to what your interviewer is trying to say by reading his body language is also very important. Be gracious, don't be overbearing and pushy. Do not keep on calling and keep on following up, or do not keep on harping around the same point if you've already made your point. You're not there to kind of get into a verbal spat. If there is a difference of opinion, it's great to keep it that way and not say much about it. And uselessly just keep on trying to push your agenda and end up. And finally, do not be either extremes. Do not be too aggressive or too timid. Neither being too aggressive nor being too timid makes the cut, right? You're choosing the people who are assertive. Assertive is a great thing to be, and that is what you should be. So remember this, this is what we say, that some of the things that you can do at an interview. We have all more content like this that we share in our group. So if you have any questions, you would like to ask any questions, please ask in the chat. If you have any FAQ, the entire panel is here. So if you want to ask, do let us know, and if you could answer any question. I'll open the chat. The chat is activated. If you have any question, we'll take your questions now. Anything on emotional quotient, or any experience you'd like to share, or you have something that you want to ask us. Okay, that's great. But if you remember something and if you want to ask something later and you would like to get back to us, remember we can be reached on the social media. We have different handles. And of course, we have a direct email ID, the connectandconverse@gmail.com. Do write to us and probably we can get in touch with you and have a one-to-one with you, right? So with that, we'd like to come to the end of this session. But just remember, before we close today's session, just like to give you a sneak peek of what we have for the next session. So the next session is all a continuance of this series that we are doing. We had a series on group discussion. We had a series on preparing for the interview, like emotional quotient. And next is the actual interview. So people who feel nervous and panicky before an interview, raise your hands. And probably that's all of us. People who feel that, you remember the right thing. Oh, this happens also to all of us. We remember things, data, and sometimes we're not able to see that in the right time. And we've all been there. And basically, what we've done is we've collected information that we have, and of course, experiences that we have. We got in experts and we created a little module that we have that we also run in our Ready to Hire program. But we'd like to bring a snippet of that module. So the next webinar.
Satyam, there's a question somebody is asking.
Okay.
What should we answer when a HR asks, why should we pay you?
Sumit, what should we answer when a HR asks, why should we pay you? How do you mean that? Are you trying to say that you're going to work for free, or your question is that why should we pay you X amount of money? I would like to understand your question here, because when you are going for an interview and they are advertising for a job, it is a transaction, right? The transaction, they would definitely offer you something for your services. So are you trying to say that why should you pay you so much? Or is it that you're a freelancer, you're offering your services, something like that? If you're saying that the question should be, why should you pay so much? Please type in 1. If you're a freelancer, please type in 2, and I will try to answer accordingly. So you are a freelancer, correct? Why should we pay you? So depending on the kind of product and services that you're offering, there is a couple of things that you can do. A freelancer is a proactive kind of thing. Okay, so he goes to a person who needs a service, and it depends on you to kind of show them exactly where their pain point lies. So you would have to do a little more of this analysis. And I'm guessing, suppose you're a trainer who is a freelancer, you will have to do this need analysis for them, and you have to show them the two desired states. Am I getting to you, Sumit? The desired states of what that person is at a moment and where they can be. आपको बोलना पड़ेगा, सर आप इधर हो, मैं ये हूँ, I can offer you this, I can take you from here to here. अगर आप हमारे साथ यहाँ से यहाँ चलेंगे, then you will get this benefits. So you will have to make this a kind of a pain point. So what you're doing is you are basically selling. So here we come into a different skill altogether, where of course interviewing also is a part of selling. So here we come to another different skill. You're selling yourself. You're selling your service. If there's a strong demand for your service, if someone says, Sumit ji, aap aa jao, hamara problem hai, aap dekho, kuch kar lo, then it's fine. Obviously, then you can quote the price. If you want to go like most freelancers do, walk into and say that, look, I have a proposal, I want to offer you this, then you have to do the studies. Selling does not happen by simply talking about yourself. Selling can happen only when you talk about the person that you're selling to. So if you are going to that person who has an issue, please understand their issues and please tell and show them what you can do to make it right. यानी कि सुमित जी, आप उसके पास एक solution लेके जाओ, ठीक है? खाली आपका पोर्टफोलियो, पिक्चर, प्रेजेंटेशन, आपने कहाँ क्या आपके पास सर्टिफिकेट्स है, इससे काम शायद नहीं बनेगा. Right? I hope I've been able to answer your question. If I have, kindly give me a 2. Any other question? Thanks a lot. Great, Sumit. Nice to interact. Any other question that you have, would you like to ask? Any FAQs? Something that you've been asked in an interview? Okay, great. So before I end, once more, please do join us next time when we have this session. And if you want to know when the next time we'll come up with this session, what I request you is to join our group. We have a Connect and Converse group, and in that we regularly post updates and things when we're going to have the next session and so on and so forth. Let me just share the QR code. You can simply copy it, and you can simply copy it, and you can be a part of the group. But our next session is going to be about interview. This is something that is very interesting, because even after COVID, we know even after the third wave which is on, this is something that is going to open up, because there'll be a lot more people who will hire and a lot more companies who will be willing to offer and open up positions. So join this group, and for the others, thank you for joining us today. It was great talking to you. Have a great weekend, and more power to you. Stay healthy and stay safe. Jai Hind. Bye-bye.